So I had a quick look and I actually read the same number of books this May as I read in May 2017 when I was doing the A to Z readathon. So that's nice. Didn't read as many books as I read last month or the month before, but that's okay too. Welcome to my May reading wrap-up. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel at least twice a week, and then movie reviews or book to movie content at the weekend. So make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss any of that bookish content coming up. I do have a reading vlog coming up for you, as well as some book to movie goodness, and I have already posted my June TBR. So if you want to find out, having found out what I read in May, what I'm going to be reading in June, I will leave that linked up above for you. I did actually read some ebooks and physical books in May. It wasn't just all audiobooks. So I have some ebooks and physical books to talk about, and then I will go on to talk about the ebooks. And yeah, I have talked about some of these in vlogs already, so I'll leave those linked if there are any reviews that you need to be aware of. Firstly, ebooks. I read The Minute I Saw You by Paige Toon, which was the final book in our Paige Toon readathon read-along. And I read this during the Battle Books readathon, so you can see my thoughts as I was reading it in that vlog, which I will leave linked up above for you if you haven't already seen it. I read 11 books that week, so it is quite something to be seen. During that readathon, I also read Far From Perfect by Holly Smale, which is the second book in her Valentine series, her new young adult series following the success of her amazing Geek Girl series. And again, I give you more thoughts on this one in that reading vlog, so go and check that out. Then I also read Wonderland by Juno Dawson, which came out on the 28th of May in the UK. Juno Dawson is an amazing UK YA author, and Wonderland is, as you can imagine, an Alice in Wonderland retelling. However, this is not a retelling for the faint-hearted. There is a lot of drugs and sex and just a lot of issues-based plot lines in this one. So if you are here for something which is like completely different from any other Alice in Wonderland retelling you have read, this is the book for you. But this book does come with some care warnings. I did review this one on my blog. My blog is always linked below, along with my other social media and my Goodreads, so you can keep up with my reading in between videos. But yeah, read the review, read the synopsis, make sure those care warnings you're cool with before picking this one up. But yeah, this Alice in Wonderland retelling will be unlike any other Alice in Wonderland retelling you have read before. And can we just take a minute to appreciate this cover? I just adore this cover. I did post a picture on my Instagram, and I like looking at the picture because I like the cover. It's very cool. But yeah, it came out on the 28th of May in the UK. And then I read 4 books. I read 4 books this month for a reading vlog that I am doing based on recommendations that were given to me by the RNA Rainbow chapter, which represents writers who write queer romance. And they gave me a whole list of recommendations. I picked 5 of them, and I'm bringing you a reading vlog of those 5 titles. I tried to pick 5 that were quite different from one another, so that it had a nice broad range of recommendations from them. So make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss that reading vlog. But I'm going to tell you 3 ebooks that I read for the vlog, but I'm not going to tell you anything about them really, because you'll see all about them in the reading vlog. I read A New Life for Christmas, Liam Livings, which is basically a retelling of The Holiday, which is one of my favorite Christmas films. And this is a male romance novel, and it's just, I loved it. It was fabulous. You'll see more in that reading vlog. Then I read The Flowers of Time by A.L. Lester, which is historical queer romance featuring a non-binary character. Historical isn't always my jam, so it was good to kind of push myself to read something out of my comfort zone in order to kind of read broadly across these recommendations that were given to me. And then I also read A Convenient Marriage by Giovanni Sciarica. It was the perfect marriage until they fell in love. What it doesn't tell you is who they fell in love with. I read this one on audiobook and it was really different, but you will see all of my thoughts on it in that reading vlog. Say no more, you'll have to watch that video. And then one final ebook that I read. I know, so many, right? Yay. Finally. One final ebook that I read in the month of May was The Gin O'Clock Club by Rosie Blake. And yeah, this one was not quite what I was expecting. This one is a rom-com, and I love Rosie Blake, she's amazing, but I was a little bit disappointed in this one. It did just fail to keep my attention a little bit. I found that the main character's lifestyle stressed me out a little bit, and I really wanted to kind of take her to one side and give her a bit of a talking to. And then it's a bit of a dual narrative between her and her grandfather, and I love multi-generational uplit, as we're calling it, and I love a dual narrative, but I couldn't grasp onto the grandfather's voice as much. And I buddy read this with my friend Hayley, but she really loved it and I just didn't get it quite so much. And then moving on to the physical books that I read this month. I did 2 buddy reads with my lovely friend Hayley. Well, we didn't just do 2 buddy reads. We did all the Paige Toon buddy reads, but 2 buddy reads of physical books that I read this month. I read The High Moments by Sara Ozebeck. This is not the finished cover. This is the proof cover. I do already have a review of this one on my blog if you want to go away and see the finished cover. Blogs linked in the description box. This one is kind of like The Devil Wears Prada meets Sweet Bitter. Scarlett wants to move to London and work in fashion, and the fashion world is the fashion world, and she kind of gets sucked in and chewed up a little bit. I really enjoyed it. Hayley didn't like some of the kind of sex and drugs in it, but I was like, it's fashion, it's the world of fashion, we're in London now. So that was interesting. We had quite a good discussion about that, but I really enjoyed this one and I really recommend it. It is adult fiction and it's very good. I have a full review on my blog if you want to know further thoughts. Then again, I have one which is not the finished cover, but is a very beautiful proof cover. This one came out in May in the UK in hardback, and this is Where We Belong by Anstey Harris. I'm just going to take you round the gorgeous flowers on the spine and on the cover of this proof copy. This is Love Will Bring You Home. And I'm going to just read you the little extract on the back here so you get a quick idea. This is adult fiction, and like I say, it's out in hardback just now, and a buddy read it with Hayley. A house absorbs happiness. It blooms into the wallpaper, the wood of the window frames, the bricks. That's how it becomes a home. The people in it are movable, exchangeable, one set of hugs and shouts and words of love easily swapped for one another. I'm packing up our lives into cardboard boxes, folding away that happiness, those memories. It makes me want to turn to someone, anyone, and talk about Leo's paintings, old gig tickets of Richard's, postcards sent to me by friends. Everything is changing. And this one, Anstey Harris just writes description in the most beautiful way. There's still this description that she wrote of the main character eating a salad, and you know, I don't like salad really, not really, and just this description of her eating this salad just made it sound just so mouthwatering. I could picture it, I could taste it, I could hear the crunch, I could like smell the goat cheese that she was describing. Anstey Harris just has an amazing way with description, and if you have read The Truths and Triumphs of Grace Atherton, which was her debut novel, which is called Goodbye Paris in the US here, you will know that she has a way with description. And so whilst the plot of this one was more slow moving than I normally like, I was just absorbed in the book because of her writing. I was just in awe of the writing, and I really enjoyed this one. I've got a full review on the blog, so if you want to go and hear more thoughts. you can go there. And then another one which has a different title in the US, and I'm trying to remember what the title in the US is, but this is People Like Us by Louise Fine, another proof copy that I have, and a lot of people have compared this to The Book Thief or The Tattooist of Auschwitz. I have read The Book Thief and I got certain Book Thief vibes about it, but this one is definitely more heartbreaking. Think kind of star-crossed lovers, not quite Romeo and Juliet style, but just as tragic. And the tagline here gives you a little bit of indication. I nearly drowned and Walter rescued me. That makes everything different. And she is a Jew. Walter is not. There's our star-crossed lovers right there. A perfect German child, Hetty will do anything for her country. But Walter, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy that saved her life, is a Jew. As they grow even closer, Hetty begins to fight against her family, her country, and herself. Will you fight for their love? And I really enjoyed reading this one. Again, it's historical, which is outside of my comfort zone. It's long, which is outside of my usual reading. I'm normally put off by long books, but I really did enjoy this one. It's, like I say, it's been compared to The Book Thief and The Tattooist of Auschwitz. I haven't read The Tattooist of Auschwitz and I didn't like The Book Thief, but I did like this one. So yeah, if you like things set during this time period, this is definitely one for you. And even if you're not normally a historical fiction fan, a bit like me, I do recommend it. I have a full review on my blog. There's a theme here, isn't there? This one I don't just have a review on my blog of, I have a reading vlog of this one that I posted as an IGTV video on my Instagram. Again, that's always linked down below. So if you want to know my full thoughts on this one, you can go and watch that Instagram video. The cover is the thumbnail that you need to click. And this one is Percolate by Elizabeth Hamilton Guarino. Not very good at pronouncing that one, but this is non-fiction. It is a self-help book that's all based around the idea of percolating. Everything links back to the coffee brewing process, which is what drew me to the book in the first place. As you know, I'm big on the coffee. If you watched any of my reading vlogs, they're all based around coffee, and the reading vlog for this one is no exception. So go and check out my Instagram. I have the whole reading vlog on there so you can see my thoughts as I go through, and I did also write a written review on my blog. So yeah, I read some ebooks and some physical books as well as audiobooks this month. So on to the audiobooks. They always make up the biggest part of my reading. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to say where I read the audiobook from, because I do use several different services to read these audiobooks. So if you want me to go into more detail about where I read them from, I can do that, but I don't normally do that because I don't always remember. But if you want me to cover that, then do let me know in the comments. I will be happy to. These first three I know 100% are from Audible because I already had them on Audible, and these are part of my Paige Toon read-along, read-a-thon, which is now finished. I read Paige Toon's entire back catalogue, and these books are her young adult series, and I highly, highly recommend this series. I loved these books, and getting to meet Jessie Jefferson, daughter of rock star Johnny Jefferson. The first one is The Accidental Life of Jessie Jefferson, where we get to meet Jessie and see her meeting Johnny and Meg for the first time, which you see a little sneak peek of in the novella Johnny's Girl. So I knew a little bit about how this meeting was going to go, but it's great to see it from Jessie's point of view. The second book in the series is I Knew You Were Trouble. And the third book in the series is All About the Hype. And these are young adult, contemporary, coming of age. I recommend reading them back to back because it's so much fun, and you will finish one and want to carry on reading and find out what's going on with Jessie. At the end of the third one, I really, really wanted to know some more about her. I think because Paige Toon has revisited Johnny Jefferson. After Johnny's Girl, we had Baby Be Mine. Then we had the novella. After Johnny Be Good, we had Baby Mine, then we had the novella Johnny's Girl, then we had these 3 young adult novels as a spin-off. So I feel like she could go back to this world and catch up with where Jessie is now. Maybe we need a bit of a transition novel, one that transitions between young adult and adult, but reading about Jessie adapting to life as the daughter of a famous rock star in LA, having gone from living a regular life in Maidenhead. It was very exciting. It being set in Maidenhead when she's back in the UK gave it another level for me, because all the places that she was going around were literally all the areas around the house that I lived in Maidenhead. And she was going to the Odeon, and it's like, oh yes, I used to go to the Odeon, and my gym was right next to the Odeon, so I would regularly walk past it. I drove past the park that she goes to every single day on my way to and from work, or on my way to and from going anywhere, because the park was right behind my house. So that's always fun when you've got that as another level in your reading. I could really picture crystal clear the area that they were walking around. So it is very geographically accurate. I can attest to that. If you're worried about Paige Toon's novels not being geographically accurate, they are spot on. Spot on. Then one of the very first books that I read in the month of May was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a dual narrative between these 2 girls who have both lost their father in a plane accident, and we get to see the impact it has on both of their lives and their relationship with him before he died, and their kind of the impact, and then what happens, will they ever kind of come together. And this was really interesting. I just love Elizabeth Acevedo's writing. It really makes me want to reread The Poet X, because I've listened to all of that one on quite a stressful plane journey, and I would like to revisit it and see what I think of it in a less stressful situation. So I might have to wait a few months to reread that one if I'm looking for a less stressful situation. But I really enjoyed this one, and the audiobook did a really good job. I got this one from my library through Overdrive, or you might know it as Libby. I still use Overdrive because I like that format better. Then we have one which is also part of my About a Book's readathon reading vlog, so I go into more detail about this one in that. The Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. This is adult romance, and this one is her follow-up novel from The Friend Zone. I absolutely love The Friend Zone. It was definitely a 5-star read for me. I would say the Happy Ever After playlist is a 4-star read for me. However, the meet cute in this one is very funny and very, very cute, and I haven't seen it done this way in any other novels, so it's completely original, and I really liked that about it. But as I say, I go into a little bit more detail in that readathon reading vlog. Then the 4th book that I read this month for that queer romance reading vlog that is coming up, I listened to You're My Kind by Clare Lydon, which is a female romance, and in case you can't tell from the cover, I didn't clock this, but it's set around a bakery, set around like a cake business. So my advice to you would be to make sure that you have some cake, or at the very least icing, to hand when you're reading this one, because it is going to make you hungry. And I did also read this during the About Books readathon, so you'll be able to see a little bit more detail on my thoughts on that one, or you can wait for the reading vlog that is coming up. But safe to say, I very much enjoyed that one. Then, already for Pride Month, I listened to Rick by Alex Ginio. Does anybody else really want Rick's backpack? I just love Rick's backpack. I do have several pins and things on my backpack that I use when I travel. If you've seen me at BookCon or Book Expo ever, I have my backpack there and I put buttons on, and I have buttons on the lanyard that I wear at the library and things like that. But I love Rick's backpack. I want that rainbow transfer in particular. But Rick goes off to middle school. I really like books where the main character starts a new school, because I was used to working with children who were in their final year of primary school, moving on to secondary school, and I think those books covering that transition are really, really important for children to have access to. So I commend this book because it covers him starting at a new middle school. And we do also meet up with George again, George from Alex Gino's book, George, and Rick joins the Rainbow, what is it called? The Rainbow Spectrum group for people who would consider themselves to be part of the rainbow spectrum, and ask a lot of questions. And I love the fact that this book is so much about identity, but also has that like coming of age aspect, that first coming of age when you move from like elementary school to middle school, or primary school to secondary school, or onto junior high, or whatever it is where you live. I love the fact that this book covers this, and it asks a lot of questions. This one is middle grade fiction, and I listened to it all in one sitting. It's quite a short audiobook, so if you've been thinking about doing this one, it doesn't take a lot of time, but it definitely packs a lot of punch, and I really enjoyed it. Then I read something that had been on my TBR for a little while now, and I don't know why I can't find my picture for you. I will pop a picture of it in here. I listened to As Good As It Gets by Fiona Gibson. Nope, I have the picture here. I really love Fiona Gibson's writing. She is the queen of writing women in her books who are normally overlooked or are just in there as a side character. Their children are grown up and might be leaving home, or might be, turning into strawberry teenagers. Their relationship with their husbands or their partners are waning because it's been so long since they met. They're missing that spark of new romance, and Fiona Gibson just does this so well in her books. As Good As It Gets is no exception. It's one of her earlier novels than the last couple of ones that I've read from her, but this one has the tagline, "The grass is always greener," so you can see what kind of thing this book is going to be covering. This is an adult rom-com, and like I say, it deals with those slightly older characters. So we've not got teens, we've not got characters in their 20s, we've not got characters in their 30s. These are older women who still have a sex life. Good for you, Fiona Gibson. And she just makes me laugh, and she just tells it like it is, and I really like that about it, about her books, and about that one in particular. Then I also listened to Ayoade on Top. I have a whole video talking about this one because this is Richard Ayoade's take on the Gwyneth Paltrow movie View from the Top, and I read the book and then watched the movie and made the video for you, so I will leave it linked up above. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Then I also listened to Bright Burning Stars by A.K. Smale, which I had started listening to ready for my panel at the Social Distance Book Fest, which A.K. Smale was on. I hadn't finished listening to the book by the time that I hosted the panel, and so this was one of the first books that I finished in the month of May because I was already partway through it in the month of April. I'd listened to a good chunk of it in April, enough that I could talk about it with her on the panel, but I did finish listening to it. And this one is a young adult, bit of a coming of age novel, set in an elite ballet school in France, and it's very dark and very identity driven, and I love novels that are identity driven, in case you can't tell the way I've talked about some of the other books that I read this month as well. But I really enjoyed reading that, but it was definitely darker than I expected, but I love the identity aspect of it. Then I listened to Normal People by Sally Rooney so that I could bring you a book versus movie video. This is adult literary fiction. It was shortlisted for a couple of prizes back in the UK. I'm not sure about whether it was shortlisted for any prizes here, but it has been made into a series on the BBC in the UK, on Hulu here in the US, and I will be bringing you a book versus movie video, so you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, so you don't miss that one. It's coming up very soon. I'm literally going to film it in a matter of moments as soon as I get done talking to you about the books that I read in the month of May. And then I listened to 500 Miles From You by Jenny Colgan. It has been a while since I read a new Jenny Colgan novel. She's had a few out recently, which I haven't read, but my mum has read and reviewed for the blog, so I didn't read them. But this is 3 months, 2 strangers, 1 love story, and the idea is that these nurses are 500 miles apart. They do a bit of a job swap because of circumstances that are revealed at the beginning of the book, and so we have this long distance relationship that begins as professional, and you know, the type of books that Jenny Colgan writes, you know, it's going to develop into something more. No spoilers, but you know what's coming. And I just really enjoyed this one. And I always say on this channel, if you are a writer who is going to include Scottish characters in your book, make sure that you get a Scottish narrator, or at least a narrator who is going to be able to do a good Scottish accent, or else just don't make your characters be from Scotland. It's not worth it. I hate listening to an audiobook that has an awful accent, and the narrator of this one did a really great job of switching between various different English accents and a couple of different Scottish accents. So bravo to that narrator. I pre-ordered this one on Audible because I knew I was going to want to read it, so I recommend the audiobook of this one because the narrator did a really good job and didn't fall into my usual trap that I hate, where the narrator just does an awful job of a Scottish accent. So good job, good job. I think that Jenny Colgan herself being Scottish probably helped in that. And then my final 3 audiobooks are my 3 books from my Book of the Month Club pick this month. Yes, I read my May Book of the Month Club books. I read them all. You'll have seen these in my most recent book haul. If you've missed it, I'll link it either up here, or if I'm out of links, in the end screen for you. I read The Knockout Queen by Ruthie Thought. This is a literary fiction novel, although in my mind it reads a little bit more like a memoir, and I kind of found myself switching into I'm listening to a memoir mode whilst listening to this one. Bunny and Michael are best friends. Michael is gay. Bunny is bigger than your average girl. She is the knockout queen. And so these friends live their lives being the outsiders, being the people who are different from the rest of everybody else, but they find this affinity together, and it's from Michael's point of view. So we get to hear what Bunny's saying and see what Bunny's doing from Michael's point of view, and that's why it reads a little bit like a memoir. There's definite content warning in here for abuse within families, and also for drugs to a certain extent, but I really enjoyed this one. I have a full review on my blog, so I will leave it linked below, and I have already posted my review on Goodreads too, so if you want to know my full thoughts on this one, you can go there. Not normally a reader of literary fiction, but the synopsis of this one really stuck out to me, and I love the spine of this one as well. Very good. I really enjoyed it, and it was a good audiobook listen as well. And then we have Happy and You Know It by Laura Hankin, which is contemporary fiction set in New York's high society. We see sort of children's performer infiltrate a elite play group, and you know, with elite mommies in New York society, there are going to be hidden things going on, and being that children's performer who's kind of inducted into the group, she gets to hear and see things that she maybe shouldn't. There are some secrets and lies and hidden things, but there are some very real moments, and there are some very funny moments as well. I did this on audio, and I did it basically in one gulp because it was so absorbing and so entertaining, and I believe I talk a little bit more about this one in my Bad Books reading vlog as well, because it is one of the books that I read, as was Big Summer by Jennifer Weiner. I have a whole video talking about my love of Jennifer Weiner, my passion for her writing and her books and her characters, and then the fact that she normalizes fat people having real lives and fat people having romances and fat people being successful in their careers, because, you know, we can be, whereas other books we are the butt of the joke. But Jennifer Weiner, the main character in this one, is an Instagram influencer, despite the fact that she is fat. And then she goes off to a friend's wedding out at Cape Cod, and things take a bit of a different turn. And this becomes slightly different to your usual Jennifer Weiner novel. I am not giving away any spoilers here, but it's very different, and I really enjoyed it. And that is all you need to know. So there you have it, the 26 books that I read in the month of May. Slightly less than last month, but these are all full-length novels, which some of last month's books were shorter. We're back to February length of novels here, some longer ones. So I hope you enjoyed. As I say, if you would like me to detail more about where I get my ebooks and audiobooks from, whether they're library books or bought books or Scribd or Hoopla or what have you, I will try and do that in my next video. But let me know in the comments. Let me know what your favorite book that you read in the month of May was. I enjoyed so many books I read this month, but I really loved my Book of the Month Club picks. I'm really glad I picked the books that I did, and I'm glad I read them this month. So I have that queer romance reading vlog for you coming up. I have that book versus movie for normal people coming up. I also have another book versus movie coming your way, so make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss that one. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that bell so you get notified of my next video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you with my next video very soon.